Today we're going to talk about comparing data. And the basic idea behind this is to know how to view two sets of data. We'll have similar graphs of each set and be able to compare different aspects of the data, like maybe compare the mean or the median, or even which direction the graph is skewed in versus another graph that might be more symmetric. So let's first take a look at two different box plots. These represent the age of players that we surveyed and whether they played checkers or chess. So looking at the two, there's some similarities and there's some differences, and a lot of this is up to interpretation, but some of the items we can compare directly. For instance, like we can see that the range or spread is larger for the checker players that we asked versus the ones that played chess. So we might be able to say people are playing checkers at an older age than chess. But also, this maximum in our checker category, notice how this whisker on our box plot is longer, so this might be an outlier. We don't know. But just looking at the data, we have an older player that plays checkers than we do that plays chess. We can look at the middle of our graph and say the median age is actually higher for chess, however. So remember, the median is halfway through our data, so we know that half of our chess players are above 60 years old, and half of our checker players are above, about 43 years old? So we can say that if we're looking at just percentage-wise, our chess players are older. We could also look at the box itself and say 50% of the people playing checkers range from about 25 up to about 38 years old, where 50% of our chess players range from 35 to 68. So again, maybe we could say chess is generally played by older players than with checkers, and that might have to do with the amount of patience that it takes to play chess over checkers. Again, this is highly up to your interpretation and what data you're actually asked to compare. Next, we have some dot plots that represent the heights of a group of soccer players versus the heights of the group of basketball players that were surveyed. Comparing the two, there's lots of ways to compare, but we might notice that in general, the basketball players are taller. The range for our basketball players, going from 73 to 84, is definitely higher than our range for soccer players from 65 to 78. We can also, if we find the median, we can say that the median height for basketball players is 80 inches, and the median for soccer players was only 72. So we definitely have taller basketball players. We also can notice that the graph of the soccer players is more symmetrical than the graph for basketball players. The basketball player graph is highly skewed to the left. But we can notice that most of the basketball players are over 78 inches tall. We only have 3 players in that skewed arm of our graph that are actually less than 78, and those might be outliers, right? So most of our players are taller than 78 inches, and all of our soccer players were 78 inches or less. So almost all of the soccer players were less than 78 inches tall, where most of our basketball players were actually taller than 78 inches, and that's a great way to compare. Let's quickly take a look at a couple of histograms that represent the longevity of a group of males versus a group of females. Taking a look at the two histograms, you can see that the female graph has a slightly larger range. It ranges from 20 to 100 years, where the males range from 25 to 100 years, and really that might be an outlier on the graph of males. We still have to look at the entire range. But if you look at the biggest chunk of the graph, the females definitely have a larger range. Looking at the median for the male graph is lower than the median for females. If you look at the largest part of our graph, a large portion of the males had a longevity between 65 and 90 years old. And a good portion of the females had a longevity between 75 and 95 years. Interpret that how you will, but in general it looks like females are living slightly longer than males, but have a bigger range of longevity. Alright, like I said, we just need to be able to look at two graphs and compare some of their data. You'll have specific questions that you have to answer later as to how to compare whether you're supposed to compare the median or the range or the general shape of the graph. But you do need to be able to read all three types of graphs. For now, we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to wish you a great day, and I'll see you next time.